welcome to another episode of All Things Entrepreneur. It is your host, Errol J. Allen, with my lovely co-host,
Jessica Myers.
How are you doing today?
Oh, I stay living the dream. We created a space here where we shine the light on the blind side of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
So I'm so excited today to get into our conversation.
Yeah, today I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna feel like a coaching session for me because I was thoroughly looking into this person the past couple of days, and I'm like, oh shoot, I want to do this now. So without further ado, I want to bring up someone who is a nurse turned entrepreneur. She's been in the staffing agency since 2018. That's when you started, if I recall. And you've been in the healthcare space for about 2 decades now, right?
That's correct.
That is amazing. So without further ado, let's bring up Miss Sophia Bracy. How you doing?
Wow,
today?
welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you guys for having me so much. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
Hopefully I can, instill some light on staffing or healthcare just in general.
Mm-hmm. So let's get straight to it. So if I recall, you have not 2, but now 3 agency locations. You just opened your newest one up in Atlanta, right?
Correct.
And you have how many people on your books right now? 700 people, was it?
Are we talking about nurses in rotation?
Yeah.
Yes, nurses in rotation. Yes, about 700 now.
Okay, so how did you go about this? How did this all begin?
Well, let's see. I ended up having a later in life pregnancy because it's that after 35.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working at, I think, a night shift as a nurse for some type of hospital at the time. And I was full-time staff. And the pregnancy was very hard on me. Obviously, I was high risk. There are a lot of issues. So I ended up being let go from the job. Because you know how when you have issues and you're sick, you have to call in, yada, yada, yada. So they ended up letting me go from the job.
But this was a hospital. They should understand more than anybody.
Yeah, they understand for the patients, but
the irony.
Not for you.
The irony.
So, I know, right? So I ended up going on bed rest via my doctor. And I stayed on bed rest for like 6 months. My God, it was the longest ever. But anyways, due to that pregnancy and then being let go, I'm like, okay, at the time, I'm like, I still have bills. I still have things to maintain. I'm still a mom to other children. So what am I going to do? What do I know how to do, at this point? And so I said, well, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I didn't know absolutely what to do. So for some reason, I received an email from Spectacular, Spectacular from Pretty Ricky.
Yep.
I tell this story all the time, right? I received an email from him that was some type of summit, some type of business summit that was going on. And it was like $28 to get in. And I was like, kept for cash, but I'm like, $28 got to be a good investment. Like, it sounds good.
Wow.
Let me join. So I spent that $28. And when I tell you, still hands down to this day, out of my over X amount of years on this earth, I won't say, but, best $28 that I ever spent in my life. So I spent that $28 and the seminar started, I think, like on a Friday. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was 3 days. And when I tell you there were some heavy hitters on this platform, there were so many minorities on this platform that were talking about how they were making money, how they were doing credit, just so much financial literacy. My eyes was like, oh, it's like you'd have thought I've seen Jesus himself.
Wow.
Because this was a lot of stuff that I had no clue about.
Yeah.
So
This is after you just gave birth to your...
no, I hadn't even given birth yet.
Oh, okay.
I was still
So
pregnant.
you going through this pregnant.
Correct. I
Wow.
had plenty of time on my hands.
Wow. Talk about commitment, though, because how many people would take that and binge watch series? But you were like, I'm taking this period to change my life.
Well, I needed money, I needed funds, and I just happened to invest. It was kind of like something I fell into. You know how things that just like by faith?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I just fell into it, and I got so much information. It's crazy how when I looked at my old Facebook feed or Instagram feed, I never saw any of this information come across my screen.
Wow.
So it's amazing how Instagram shows you what you're into. And since I was never into that, I never got that information. Now I get ads and everything all day long, and I see the same thing that I'm involved in. But before then, I had no clue, and nobody around me was teaching it, nor did I know anyone that had a business that looked like me. So I'm like, after I went to that seminar, it gave me some ideas. Like, I could do this too. I can fix my own credit. I can get some business funding, possibly. I can start my own business. And so that's when I embarked on that journey. And I'm like, well, I know how to do staffing. I've worked for a staffing agency for 15 years myself, on and off. So this is something that is a skill that I can hone in on.
Yeah.
So that's how the agency was pretty much started and born through that.
That's the beauty I love about entrepreneurship, because like you said, you can just take what skills you have, what you know you can teach, and then let me get to making some money. That is the flexibility of entrepreneurship. Let me build business around what I know so that I can control my own destiny. Let me get control and not let the people who I work for tell me what I'm going to do, but let me take it in. That's powerful.
Amen.
So let's talk, because, people want to know some numbers. So when you was, I would say, working for other staffing companies, what on average was you seeing, and you don't have to give exacts, but ballpark on a monthly or annual basis, what was you generating then?
Well, I was doing over 6 figures as a nurse, because before I decided to have the baby, I was doing a lot of strike nursing. So I was traveling around in California. I was doing a lot of travel contracts. So as I said, I was familiar. So I was making over 6 figures myself. A lot of these assignments would pay $3,000 to $5,000 a week just for doing something.
Hold on. You said $3,000 to $5,000 a week?
Yeah, for doing some of these strike assignments, of course, because you're literally called at the drop of a moment. You have to fly to wherever they need you to, and then you're working 10 days straight nonstop if that's what they need.
I know, I see a lot of people be trying to date these nurses.
Don't do it. So I was making good money as it is, but when I settled down from that and got a staff job, which most nurses do because everybody's not able to travel. They have children, they have families. You can't just get up and go somewhere for 2 weeks and have someone watch your kids. So I was in that unique position because I had no small children. But those things change as my life changed. And when I decided to have another child, my children were grown. There's like a large gap. My son is 27. My son is 5. So there's a large gap in between that to even decide to start over. At that point in time, we ain't going to be talking about that.
I was like, wait, 27 and 5.
I know, right? But when I decided to have a new child, I knew I was coming, close to that time. And it was like, I want to, be able, God
to
willing,
start this process
before this process is over, because for us, our time is limited, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't expect all of the other things to come along with it. So with going through that process, it truly woke me up to understanding that if I don't control my own financial, lifespan, someone else is going to always be in control of it. Even though I'm making good money, it's still capped at what they say I can make. You say I can make $5,000 for this week, but if I'm doing my own thing, my say is unlimited. So I realized I'm never going to build generational wealth for my children, for my little one that just came. I'm never going to have freedom to be able to do what I want to do. I've always traveled. That's why I've always worked as a travel nurse, because for one, I don't do well with authority. That's just one issue, especially when it comes to healthcare and managers and etc. But also, I like freedom because I traveled a lot as a nurse. So when you become an entrepreneur, when you start to make that revenue and it clicks, you're able to do more of that. So I realized, okay, I'm buying my time back. I'm working around my own time. I'm making my own money when I say, as much or as little, maybe what I need to survive, maybe what I need in overabundance, but that's my option to do so.
And I always think if they paying you $5,000 a month, how much, or a week, how much do you think they're making off of your work?
Oh,
that's what I always think. Like, especially when, I know for me, my family didn't, or my mom, I saw how much she made, and it wasn't very much growing out through my entire life. So me getting a job making 40 or 50, I'm blowing her out the water. So it's like when we're not exposed to those amounts and we give you 120. I got a friend making 250. And it's just like, this is more than we've ever seen from our family. But then on the grand scheme, like, wait, if they paying me 250, which is a lot.
How much are they making?
How much are they making? And that's what it always brings me to, especially when you talk about entrepreneurship and owning your time. It's like, don't be fooled by the shiny penny, because there's a lot of money. But if you realize just how much they were making off you, it'll make you rethink how much that $250 really cost.
It would.
So on average, because I know you have a mentorship program too for staff, teach people how to do staffing agency. So on average, when someone's looking to start off the staffing industry, let's say a year goes by, 2 years go by, what could they aspire to make in that time period?
Well, that depends. So what I teach now, because I, went through this program, meaning like for 2 years before I even put it out, right? Because myself in the last 6 years have went through so many mentorships. Obviously, as you grow and develop, you have to have mentorship. But there were a lot of mentorships that were fluff. There were a lot of mentorship that charge you this overage price, and once you get in it, you still can't do what they said. You still are confused. It's still just not clicking for you, right? And it's like, okay, I want to create something that's different, right? Because there are other people teaching staffing now. There were really none when I started, but now there are people that are getting more into the space. But I'm like, what can I bring to the table that's going to allow people to actually get it and make revenue out of it, so that I know that I am truly servicing God's people and not just taking their money, right? Because what God gives you, it lasts forever, right?
Exactly.
So And when I started working on the program, it's about 2 years ago. So I have incorporated into the program 3 ways. I teach nurses 3 ways how to make money, right? So there was a point in time when I started that I cut the middleman out and started staffing myself. Obviously until I make the revenue. So if I was making, let's just say, for example, if I was making $65 an hour, what the agency more than likely gives you for a local tandem contracts or per diem, I cut them out and then doubled the money. So I was probably making $120 an hour by cutting them out on a local basis, not on a strike basis, because it's a whole nother situation right there. But when it comes to that, they normally charge like 30% upcharge or whatever the hourly rate is. So I doubled that money, so that increased my revenue. So I teach nurses how to staff themselves. I teach them how to permanently place only, which is like the recruiter side of it. So where you can just take different positions and just place that person and take a fee. And that's going to be like the quickest lucrative side that I teach. So let's just say, for an example, with some of the outlets I have now, I teach them how to utilize certain platforms where they can go in. Let's just say they're hiring for a nurse in, I don't know, Texas or something like that, right? They would pick up that position and then they will recruit, staff, credential that nurse, and then place them in that position. They're able to, a lot of times, clear $15,000 as a bonus for staffing that person that you get paid out in 30 days. So they can come in making money, because I didn't want you to come in and be struggling for the contracts. That's what I went through.
Yeah.
So you're saying, just I'll repeat, you're saying you find someone who has a job opening in Texas.
I have different avenues that I use that I give to my students, correct.
And then they find someone to fill that need.
Correct.
And they're going to get their still $120 hour or, 3 to 5K per week. But just because they fill that position, there's also now a $15,000 bonus that's going to be released to the staffing agency or the nurse directly?
No, that'll be released to the agency owner.
The agency owner for
So not
15K.
the per diem, so not together unless you're still rotating nurses. And so this is the second way. They don't go together unless you got people rotating and placing people. So you can do all 3. I just teach 3 different ways to see where you better fit in. So you can staff yourself. That's one aspect of it. You can permanently place, where you take a nurse, you place her there. Once you place her, you get nothing else off of that contract. You're just placing them in that position. Your cutback or your fee is the 15. What I see now is between 15 and 22K that they offer to place these people.
Okay.
So somewhere around there. I see 14 to 22K.
And you don't have to be a nurse to do that, do you?
No.
So you can actually just go into the business of it, because I know for me, I'm in a sorority, and we got a lot of people that are nurses in our sorority. Yeah. And so it's like, I know a lot of nurses. So just by going in your system, I can find them jobs and then get the bonus just for placing them. And then they get their pay, which they're excited about.
They get their position.
Yep. But then I get to bonus.
You get that bonus paid out to you in 30 days.
We about to.
So that's about, could be $15,000. And then there's other positions too. It's not only healthcare. It could be a manager. It could be different things. That's the second aspect. And then the third aspect that I teach is per diem. That's where we make money around the clock. That's where my nurses go and work at the local hospital like Grady, and every dollar that she makes, so if she makes $25, maybe I make $15 off of, let's just say, above that of what she's getting paid. So every hour she works, I make $15. And if I have 7 nurses rotating, I'm getting $15 an hour off those 7 nurses every day. So around the clock.
So, and again, because I'm just so interested in this. So
that's okay.
The hospital is going to be paying you $40 an hour.
Right.
The nurse is going to get $25, and you're going to get 15.
Correct. Just for example.
For bridging the gap.
Correct. For them working through my agency, because remember, the reason why the nurse is able to come in and make this amount of money is because she gets no insurance from the hospital. She gets no benefits. She's just pretty much working. And then I'm also recruiting someone that's experienced. So if you have a need for an ICU nurse on the ICU floor, I'm going to go find an ICU nurse that's already experienced. She already knows how to work the software and how to care for the patients. You don't have to teach her. That's why you're paying me the money, because I've sourced the person.
Yeah.
I'm going to put her in position so that she works the shift, and then we both take a cut off of that. If that makes sense.
So what is the startup capital needed to start one of these?
So suggestion, right? Reality is, when I started, I wish I would have had about 100K when I started, because I did so much. I lost so much. I failed so much, right? My motto is fail and fail fast. And that way you learn how to tweak things and, get it and come back and do it better the second time. But I can teach someone technically how to start this type of business for $1,000.
Okay, hold on.
They gonna hump their butt now. Don't get me wrong. It's not just a walk in the park, but technically, if you start this business up with 1,000, I can put you in position where you go in to get those permanent placement contracts to start with, where you are placing those people and making that $15K to start to build your revenue as you grow and scale.
So what's involved in this $1,000 startup? Is that like the license to do it in the state you're so that
would pretty much be all of your business aspects to get your business started. We all know those basic things, right? But then you have to have the insurance.
I don't know, actually.
You don't know?
He's the new kid.
Oh, okay. So you need all the basic business things. You need the LLC, you need the phone, you need the website. You need the logo, you need all the basic stuff that branding. Businesses need. Yeah, the branding stuff, all that basic stuff. But then here comes the insurances, right? So I also teach my students how to get the insurance for cheaper, because most of the time insurance is high as I don't know what.
Oh yeah.
Right? You need professional, general, workman's comp a lot of the times, right? So you need those three main for sure. That we won't even get into errors and omissions, whereas if your nurses is in there documenting wrong, you're covered for that. But to start, you don't need that right now, right? So you need those three to start.
And that's all in the 1,000.
That's all in 1,000.
Okay.
The way I'm going to teach you how to do it. So I'm not going to say what that is, but I'll teach you how to lower it for your first year, so that when you start, you're able to pay a percentage that does not kill you right now. Now, after that year, they calculate back to kind of see what you've done, and then they base the next year off of that. But you're able to have that cushion for a year while you build, and that's the goal, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're building out this agency, the nurses, how do you find them? Where do you find them? Do you train them?
No, you don't train them because they already come trained.
Yeah.
There's a nurse skill that you already have. You have
So
to,
you
and you can't work agency unless you have 1 year experience. That's a must. So you can't come in as a new grad and be like, I want to do agency. No, you have to go work staff first and get your experience, and then you can branch off after 1 year and then be able to go and actually work in the staffing area. But what was your question again? I'm sorry.
I was just saying, where do you go and find them, acquire them? You said they already come trained. So where are you locating the nurses for your newfound agency?
Gotcha. So being on different platforms, advertising, obviously, ads like any other, company. Also being on different platforms, networking with other nurses, other companies, putting yourself out there, being an agency with integrity and good rates, and actually one that cares about the nurses. That's always going to bring nurses in as well, because it's word of mouth. So that's one aspect. I was fortunate enough to, and here's another thing, I also teach my students how to at least get started with government contracting. You don't have to dive deep into it, but it's a possibility. You have disasters that's going on that your agency could cover. And you can get under some of these COVID contracts when they were going as a small agency, because they need smaller women, minority-owned agencies in order to win these contracts a lot of times.
Yeah.
So going on as a sub. So we were lucky enough. My business is minority women certified. So we've actually got certified through the state. But we were able to get as a sub on a FEMA contract. And so with this FEMA contract, it was a larger company that allowed me to get on certain platforms, because they were also helping me gain nurses for this contract we were gearing up from. And from that, I grew so big just from that platform. Like, I probably have 1,400 nurses at this point that I send out emails to, just randomly, obviously.
How? Because I know you mentioned that there's a scaling that happened. Like, it's one thing to build, to grow, maintain, but then there's a scaling. What entrepreneurial skill do you feel that you had to strengthen or hone in on the business side, not the operations, but on the business side, like that you had to grow as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, all of them, girl. I feel like when I started, I was so new to entrepreneurship that I thought it was going to be easy. Like, oh, I'm a nurse, it's going to be easy. I just know this stuff. Yeah, you know the worker side of it, but you don't know the operation side of it, the administrative side of it, what positions you even need in place in order to run this business. So I ended up wearing a lot of the hats, you know what I mean? But then you go into, different ways to make money and scale. So when we talk about scaling, Airbnb is a great way to scale with your healthcare staffing agency. And I
elaborate.
And
because we got an Airbnb master.
We just have a guy.
You're an Airbnb master. Okay.
We just have a guy who does Airbnb.
Okay. No, so it's great to add on to your agency, right? Because as you pick up travel contracts. As you pick up a travel contract with a hospital, they're paying you to bring a nurse there for a certain amount of time. So let's just say, I don't know, a 13-week contract, right? She may come from California. She can come from anywhere. She needs a place to stay when she gets here or wherever you're sending her to. So the hospital automatically has a inclusion for stay. That's an allowance, right? So they may give the nurse $1,500 automatically. So what you do as an agency is you offset the back end for the front end, if that makes sense. So you're funny. So you include it in their package, but you include your Airbnb in their package. So you automatically get the money from the hospital as a compensation because the nurse is staying in your Airbnb.
So it's like a full ethos. It's like a economic, like you're thinking about that for them because they're probably just thinking I get to travel and they're not even thinking. But you're like, look, you don't even have to worry about a place to stay because
you just offer it as a package. You don't even offer it as an option. You just say, hey, this is the Airbnb that we're putting you up in. This is where you will be staying for your time. It's a package deal. This is a part of your contract, right? And you get to get that money from the hospital because that is the housing allowance that would go automatically to you.
So you're quadruple dipping here because what I just
extra dipping, but that's a little gem, I wanted to.
So for on the front end, you got the nurse, and obviously they're working for your agency, what have you. Let's just say they're coming from Cali to Atlanta. You bring them here, they get a bonus if you place them there for 30 days. That comes back to you. Then if there's other option, if I recall, you could also do another option where per diem, where you make money as they make money every hour they work. That's another option.
Correct.
And then you could even put them in a house now, and that can be paid by the hospital.
Correct.
And you could own the Airbnb.
Correct.
I think you said it last. Parabolic,
yeah. So
parabolic.
So you making money hand over fist 8 ways on Sundays. Like
that's the goal, to be able to take one business and watch it turn into multiple, avenues. And you can house nurses even if you wasn't a staffing agency. I'm just giving a gem just for people who are owners, but you could focus only on nursing and get in a lot of these groups like Gypsy Nurse and different housing groups where you list your Airbnb for professionals and focus only on nurses if you wanted to. I am just
Gypsy Nurse, was it?
Yeah, I'm just giving a gem to how as an agency you can keep everything in-house instead of allowing them to go find their own housing, which they're going to do anyway.
And I think that's the flexibility of entrepreneurship as well, because I often heard growing up, you need to have 7 streams of income. And then and there's nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. I started out my career 9 to 5, but 9 to 5 is only one of 7. And you just peeled out at least 4 or 5 different ways that you can take the same skill, the same thing that you're already doing, and now we can get even more layers of how we can get paid versus one. So entrepreneurship is not necessarily like, oh gosh, I got to deal with all this, because your team, how's your team looking? Because you got a team that helps you do all of this as well.
I have a team now. The main thing for me was getting a team that saw my vision, right? Because that's the most important thing. And then having people that were kind of like trustworthy. And when I mean trustworthy, I don't mean like stealing from you. I just mean like people that are going to actually stick around and that you can pour into and etc. I don't hold anyone. So I'm the type of boss that, I want you to learn. If you want to take that somewhere else, then do what you got to do. But I try to make sure that we're all cohesively, like a team.
Yeah.
We're following the team effort. Even with nurses, a good way to keep your nurses are incentives, right? So it's one thing for me to have you come and work. I think this is what sets me aside, and still being a micro agency or a business owner right now. And being a nurse allows me to have a heart to understand that you're a person.
Yeah.
I never get past that part because I also was a nurse as well. So we offer things like daycare, bonuses, gas bonuses, things that women need because women are a majority of nurses. But, if you come work this shift, then we can offer this, bonus for your childcare, your gas, your, this, that, and the other. And some contracts, they offer mileage too. So, there's so many different things that you can do. There's some other ways, but I ain't gonna spill all the tea right now.
But they gotta sign up for the course.
I gave y'all what I gave y'all. So
they gotta sign up for the course.
Join or look at the Patreon.
I know. Because what are some of the results that you've been able to see, like your proudest student, or it's one thing for you to do it for yourself and create that financial freedom, but what has that been like being able to provide that?
Oh my goodness, I have one girl that when I tell you she killing it. Now I don't do the permanent placement anymore. That was kind of like my hustle when I started, but I swear this girl got paid out about $35,000 in the first 60 to 90 days.
Wow.
That's just off of investing in the program. You got that back. I mean, you have to do the work, obviously. It didn't just fall into her lap, where somebody just gave her the money. You had to do the work. But to have the option to be able to make that type of money off of the course, I wanted to be able to give something where you could triple your money back to feel like, okay, I invested in something that's worth it.
Yeah.
Instead of me just giving, this money and now I got to start all this crap and I ain't got no way to make no money, So that was the goal.
So what are I got some terms I want to throw at you because I see these all the time in the space, but I just don't know what they mean. Sure. And again, I'm a child in the space. So you guys may know what it means. You may even know what it means. I don't. RN.
Registered nurse.
LPN.
Licensed practical nurse.
FNP.
Family nurse practitioner.
What's the difference between all those?
Well, I'm a family nurse practitioner now. I just graduated 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
is that the white coat?
That's the white coat.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask about the white coat too, but go ahead.
It's all up in my business.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So with the LPN is generally someone that has 1 year of registered nurse school. Okay. So they kind of cut off where the assessment skills kick in, which is why LPNs are limited to hospitals and places where they considered more of a higher need for assessment skills, So LPNs mostly occupy assisted living spaces, rehab, nursing homes, long-term care, et cetera, et cetera.
Are those of higher pay?
No.
Okay.
No. So when you are a registered nurse, you typically have went 2 full years, we're just talking about the actual program, because it's going to take you 2 years to get all them prereqs regardless. So you're going to be doing 3 years or 4 years just to even be an LPN or RN, but I'm just talking about the core courses to become an RN. You still take an LPN state board exam that you have to get certified for, and if you want to go back to be an RN, you can. Once you become an RN, then obviously all doors are open. You can work absolutely anywhere at that point.
RN's the highest tier.
RN is the highest in that realm, and then a family nurse practitioner is taking nursing to the next level, right? So it's like going higher in nursing outside of the DNP, which is the doctoral of nurse practice. When you become a family nurse practitioner, now you're able to write medications. So I can write medications now like a doctor. I can do primary care, which is like my own private clinic in certain states. Atlanta, not yet. But you're still able to operate with majority of autonomy, where you can just have a medical director or doctor overseeing, but not necessarily present. So you can operate a pain clinic. You can own a pain clinic. You can do so many things as a family nurse practitioner. So it was my goal, because although I love staffing, I always wanted my own private practice. Okay. Like always. That's always been like a dream of mine. So staffing is not going away. It just will be in addition to, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
So selfish question, because I had this happen to me just last week. I do the Airbnb business, as Jessica disclosed.
Oh, sorry. Was I not supposed to? I should ask you. What do you not want to discuss?
I want to be.
I should ask you.
I'm just here.
He asked me what I want to discuss. I said everything. So you got to agree to the same thing.
Listen, I was just here to get a coaching session. So I had a person reach out to me because I have my Airbnbs and stuff listed on like multiple platforms, and they reached out to me and they wanted to convert my house into an assisted living space. They was willing to pay 1.5x my rent. Now in my mind, I'm like, if you're willing to, and cover all utilities and all that stuff too. So I'm like, if you're willing to pay me 1.5x, that really means you're probably getting 2 or 3x from wherever the agency or whatever play you're running the back end is. So I was like, I'm gonna think about it, take some time to get back to you on that. This happened literally 2 days ago. And here we are today.
Oh, so that's why. He was like, oh, we gotta hurry up and have it. Because I'm asking.
So in this situation, this person who's renting out my property, what if you can again ascertain, what do you think they're going to be generating and making out? This is a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. What do you think they're going to be able to do with an assisted living off of that house? Well,
obviously, I don't work in the assisted living realm.
Oh, you don't?
But no, I just work in the nursing realm. Okay. But I just know a little bit about a little bit. But I know that when it comes to staffing, everything is almost like fee per service, from no Medicaid, no anything, right? So when you go into group homes, assisted living, that is Medicaid state paid, right? So that's like guaranteed money. So when they put these people in the house, they're going to get paid per each person that they're putting in there, and depending, they may have to have a healthcare professional in there, someone like a nurse to oversee these people. So it pretty much run like a full service little assisted living home. They're gonna be making pretty good money because it's per person.
And if it helps
And they can put multiple people in per room.
Yeah, if it helps out, they said they wanted me to take out the beds out of my room.
Yeah.
And they're gonna change the bathrooms, and they're gonna come in. They're gonna get.
Because they gotta make them handicapped.
Yes, they was gonna make them handicap bathrooms and add a ramp in the front. So I'm like, you doing all this money? You must be getting a bag.
Oh, yeah.
Because you ain't about to just pay me 1.5. I'm like, hold on, let me talk to somebody.
Hey, it's rental arbitrage.
Yeah, it is.
It's the arbitrage to the arbitrage.
That's the
But it's
arbitrage
not
inception.
it's not a bad deal. I mean,
Oh no, my rent's getting paid. I was just like, I told her yes, and we gonna talk some more stuff, but I want to be her.
Gotcha.
I want to be doing that for my other homes because I got them.
Gotcha.
Got a few.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I got a couple.
That's a good, thought process. I mean, so many things in healthcare are good, whether you wanted to focus on like group homes or even assisted living. Obviously, you got to go and get trained, and then you're able to, a lot of people, that's what they do. They buy homes or rent homes, they turn them into assisted living or group homes, and then they literally house these people, and then they make great money, and they have so many of them. I met a Black woman that had 20 group homes all over, I think Louisiana and some other states, and she's making money.
Wow.
Okay, because you're getting paid from the state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not private pay, right? When it comes to the group home, because you have to have patients that qualify. So it's not a bad idea to look into. I'm telling you, if you already are acquiring the properties.
What does legacy get to look like for you?
Ooh, legacy, man. If I could tell y'all some of the things I dream of.
You can. It's all things entrepreneur.
Right now, my focus is I have a grandbaby. Actually, I have 2 grandbabies. I don't want to forget about my little munchkin. I have 2 grandbabies, and then I have my baby. So they are in my mind my legacy and what I work the hardest for. But I think that the goal that anybody should be thinking of is how to use their money multiple times to make it work for them, right? So and that means being cohesive with your family, having whole life insurance policies that you are putting on each family member, so that you can use that money more than once, right? Because we all know that once you put money into a whole life insurance policy, you can take that money out. It still grows the interest on whatever it is that you put in there, right? Then you take that money and then you put that money in a trust, and then you put all your businesses in a corp, and then you stack everything on top of everything so that you own nothing, operate nothing, right? And with the laws changing, there's always a way around that, right? So then you figure out what offshore banks that's legitimate that you can, when they were saying Rio de Janeiro, they wasn't playing. But there are offshore banks that you can literally take everything from here, set up your trust in another country, your businesses here, put everything over there so that you don't have to deal with this system here. Start putting away your assets, start preparing because, life is going to be changing for us, and I truly believe that. I don't know in what ways, but I'm going to say it's not going to be good. And you already know that if you are at the bottom of the totem pole, you won't be one of those ones that will be aware, but we have to start preparing. We're going through recession after recession. So many things are happening. So that legacy looks like having all of those things set up, because we as Black people never think about selling businesses. We never think about certain things, but all the time you may want to build a business and let your children run it. But think about it like this. What if your children are not capable of running the business? Then what are you going to do? Because all the times our children are not capable of running the business. So sometimes we have to think about what that exit looks like for us. And it may look like selling the business. That may look like going public so that people that actually have stakes at your business can actually continue to grow the business like Apple, right? Because that's what Apple is. Apple started with a person. It became public, and those stakeholders are what run Apple, even though that person is no longer here. Yeah. So we have to start thinking on a larger scale. We have to make our money work for us. Yeah. And then we have to start putting away that money and acquiring property in other countries. Because I'm telling y'all right now, I'm buying me an island. When I get there, I'm buying me an island. I want to build on that island where my whole family can be there. Because when it goes up and it goes down here, I want to be there and nowhere near. Yeah. But you can buy islands. islands for cheap now.
Oh, yeah.
People are not even thinking or looking, and you can build and habitate, these places.
Ironically, we got someone in the room who's building off Exuma and doing a resort play right next to you, Miss Jessica.
Oh, are you? Okay, I was looking around the room like,
I was too, the way he was introduced. I was like, oh, the
right, so we have to start thinking like
because that's what I was going to ask about international exposure. Because when you mentioned that you like to travel, once you get exposed to how other cultures are doing things, the resources, the quality of living, and all that, you'd be like, who said America was the best country? I was like, oh, America said that. That's part of the marketing.
They tricked us.
Because when you go to other cultures, they are experiencing. You talk about family support. You're talking about the
friendship
way of
support.
life. Yes, it's just totally different.
Food's better, air's cleaner.
Yes,
Same.
it's more hydrogen in the water.
The pasta was like see-through, and I'm like, well, why does our pasta look all yellow? Why does theirs look, see-through? And the wine and just everything, when I was there, I'm like, I never felt heavy or sleepy or tired or light. It's like, it's just completely different.
You know what I realized when I went on a cruise? So we were doing a 90-day challenge of no meat, and just before that challenge, we so happened to go on a cruise, which is all you can eat, and it was Royal Caribbean's largest cruise. We were excited, all the food. But one thing I began to notice is that the hot dogs, the chicken tenders, the fries, the burgers was all American. And everything else from baked vegetables, everything else was international. I was like, oh, so then now when we start our 90-day challenge of no meat, I was like, how are we going to do this? We just start eating at international restaurants, and we realized they're not trying to kill their people.
Oh.
Like, we start eating Jamaican, we start eating Mediterranean, we start eating all these different international foods. So you talk about the quality of life, especially, someone being in the healthcare, because even I was going to ask I see that you're involved in cannabis as well.
Yeah.
Like, how does that, as far as totality of healthcare and wellness, bleed into your overall vision of, the legacy project and what you hope to leave behind?
Well, in my past, since I've done a lot of work, a lot of school as well, Lord, I don't even know if I want to go back to a doctorate at this point. But I have in my past done a lot of research on cannabis and what it does, especially for children that's experiencing pain, because that's kind of where my focus was. I hope to at some point be able to add those nurses that when things become legalized, as we're kind of, going through different things, I'm able to now use my staffing agency to have nurses that go out into the home and treat these children that are in the state of pain.
Wow.
And utilize cannabis in order to, give them comfort, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what parents, if you have a child, your child's in pain, what are you looking for? You're looking for comfort, right? And a lot of them use cannabis, but obviously it's in different doses and it's so highly regulated. But as we start to tether, because things are opening up, that's a service that I want to add on to, my agency for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
So in conclusion, I got maybe 3 rapid fire questions for you. So thing number 1, what is some things that you wish you knew starting off that you know today now in your journeys of the staffing agency?
I wish I had it started working on my traumas and my healing and my self-awareness and my mind shift way early on instead of doing it while I was kind of going through this journey cohesively, because it would have prepared me for so many different things that I'm experiencing. As an entrepreneur, we put a lot of emotions first and we put less logic. And I kind of went through all of my journey all at once, but I wish I would have had a mind shift and was more focused on self-development before I actually got to that point.
So it's funny you say that. We're going to do a quick 180 because I saw on a previous live that you had that you was losing your feminine self and it was affecting your personal life and your experiences, but you're a high operating entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of women specifically that are out here that are at the top of the field, but they're forgetting how to be feminine woman.
Yeah.
And then it bleeds into their personal relationships. How did you turn that around for yourself? Because now you're engaged or married now, right?
No, I'm married.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh, you don't see the ring?
I didn't see I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I didn't meet him here. Anywho,
Not Atlanta.
Side disclaimer. But I think that for me, I started realizing that the life that I had made me so strong. And at first it was like a badge of honor, right? Like, I'm a Black woman, I raised these children, I've been through this, I've survived, I'm this, and and really it's like almost a victim mindset, right? In order to be what God never intended for you to be. God made you opposite of man, companion for man. So if man is masculine, I can't be masculine because masculine energy does not attract masculine energy. It attracts feminine energy. And then we wonder why we attract men that are just as feminine as us in other ways. They don't come out where they like girlfriend, but they're feminine in the way they handle you and in the way they handle their emotions and the way they lead you. And a lot of women be like, I want a manly man. Well, baby girl, you got to calm down in order to get a manly man.
Soft.
And you have to be in your feminine era where I understand those things that I went through, they made me who I am, but not so strong where I don't want a man of God to lead me, where I'm not able to just sit back and be softer and be his piece, but also be his feminine piece, right? So I had to learn when to turn it off. Like after work hours, okay, I'm not a boss anymore. You know, I'm a wife and I'm soft and I'm cuddling and I'm doing all of these different things because this is my piece here. This is my intimate space. And I don't need to be tough with this person. And a lot of people, a lot of women will say like, well, you know, if a man would be a man, then I would be able to be in my piece if you acted like that. But the thing is that in order to even attract that man, you have to be what you are to even attract it. You can't wait until you get something. I can't have a millionaire mindset once I get the millions. I got to have the millionaire mindset now so that I can get to the millions. So I think that it comes a lot down to self-accountability as a woman, understanding where we stand, having self-awareness, healing, because that boils down to a lot of it. A lot of us are rah-rah because we haven't healed, and the things that have hurt us are still a badge that we're wearing. We have to let that go. So that's a process within itself, and that's everyone to each his own journey. And I think I had that journey at a point in time.
Man, listen, happy for you. I mean, can we see rings one more time? Because I just want to go on, Jessica. Put your.
I was like, ring bling.
This is a married woman saying this because it beats. Just, I'm not going to get into it. You know what? We're going to talk about on the Patreon. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about on the Patreon. But anywho, with that being said, I do have another question for you, but I'll say that for the Patreon too. Miss Sophia, it was a blast. A wealth of knowledge. We appreciate your time. Is there any closing things, remarks, where to find you, how to follow you, get engaged?
And how to get this course, how to learn how to get the badge.
Yeah.
For sure. So you guys can follow me, obviously, on Sophia Millions. I say millions because every time y'all see it, y'all manifest it for me as well. But if you go on Sophia _millions, you have my Linktree link that's there with my courses. Anything that I'm doing involved with is all there. And I want to leave you guys with this. You know, money is time, time is money. A lot of people say that, but really your time is your wealth. It's something that you cannot get back. And when you spend so many years on bad relationships and traumas and things that you have to heal from, you lose so much time. The devil is the stealer of time. So once you realize how important time is, you will figure out ways to buy your time back because you're only going forward. You're not going back. So make sure you're using your time wisely because we are all limited. And one thing is for sure, there'll be a point in time when we no longer will be here. So use your time wisely. Put people around you that love you and pour into you, and choose your friends wisely. Choose your partner wisely because that's going to make you or break you, excel you or slow you down. So we have to start utilizing our minds.
I love it.
For sure.
I love it. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of All Things Entrepreneur. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. As always, you know you got it. Let's get it. Let's go.